Cells. You know what, I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm not super happy that this nerdy series that I thought was gonna be majorly overlooked is actually a lot more popular this summer anime season than I predicted. We can thank the platelets for that mostly, I think, but overwhelmingly, it's become a pretty hard hitter and I'm overjoyed with this result. Could any of this have been brought about in part due to my previous video regarding this as a David Productions project to precede JoJo Part 5? I like to think so. I mean, I have seen some comments around people saying, waiting for JoJo and watching this, I ain't even mad. And if there's a possibility that my promoting of the series had anything to do with that, I can say I did good. If not, then oh well, I guess it's on to the actual content. Now, with the reveal at the end of episode 6 that we'll be heading into the cancer episode, you know what? I'm just gonna stop right there. Just for a minute, to plaster this across the screen for you guys, and yeah, spoilers! Sorry I wasted your first few seconds on this video, but basically this entire video is spoilers from the manga, as that is the basis for how I will be predicting how the rest of the show is going to go. I reread it for research purposes, of course. There is no safe spot in this video, so if for some reason you feel the need to avoid spoilers concerning the roles of cells in your regular bodily functions, you may as well just click that little X now and leave before you have something to complain about. If you don't care and just want to know what you have to look forward to, by all means stick around, because I have some fun stuff to share. Back to the cancer thing. It will only be one episode. Episode number 7 will be the struggle against cancer and the fans' inevitable struggle to not feel bad for this personified deadly mutation. Trust me, he'll almost seem sympathetic, but don't let him fool you. One episode of cancer, and then unfortunately this lovely show will only have 6 more episodes to run after that. In case anybody was wondering, that's really not enough time for Cancer to come back and make his dramatic villain return, which he promises so menacingly to Neutrophil number 1146. Some people might already know that a second arc involved in the cancer cell is actually a thing in the manga, and it is just as interesting as it might sound, but I have to say, to the disappointment of many people I'm sure, he won't be coming back again once he's been disposed of. There's not the time for it. Just not enough episodes to cover all of the stuff between Cancer 1 and Cancer 2, and then also cover the multi-episode extravaganza that would be the involvement of the second conflict with the cancer cell. Don't believe me? Well, I plan on explaining it in depth anyway, so here it goes. Over the course of the first half of the series, we've covered not even everything in the first 2 volumes of Cells at Work. Volume 2 concludes with a double feature of fighting the cancer cell for the first time, which will be resolved in episode 7 of the anime. We've seen pneumococcus, the scrape wound, influenza, food poisoning, cedar pollen allergies, and the ethereal blasts and myelocytes. Which then bled into the introduction to the NK cell and the cancer confrontation. Other than being a little out of order, less than 2 volumes of adhering beautifully to the source content with splashes of extra content every once in a while just to pad out the chapters is great. But Cancer 2 simply doesn't show up until the 5th volume of the manga. Based off of the things that still need to show up in the show, including a number of things absolutely essential to the continuity leading up to the second cancer cell encounter, they can't keep up the pace the show is at and feature that as well. Yeah, you heard me, continuity of the story is essential to the second cancer arc. I mean, just the fact that the cancer would be a recurring villain should imply that, shouldn't it? They would have to squish too many chapters together and mess with the pacing that they've established thus far too much to make it, so I'm banking on that's not gonna happen, at least not in this anime season. Sorry to anybody who was looking forward to that. That being said, however, how about I just tell you what you should be expecting in the second half of the show? That is, should you choose to keep watching. You can still leave now if you don't want to hear it, by the way. In the end, there are more chapters left here than there are episodes to be shown. But, much like how the Bone Marrow episode bled into the start of the cancer arc, it is possible that a couple of shorter chapters could be effectively combined. But Crackers, if that's the case, then couldn't they possibly do that all the way through to the 5th volume and come back to the return of cancer at the end? Sure, if they wanted to louse up the amazing standard of detail and pacing they've already set with the first half of the show. Anyway, Here are the chapters I believe will be covered in the second half of Cells at Work. In no particular order, because we don't mind talking about phagocytes before showing the audience what phagocytosis is. First, heat stress, because dehydration is a thing. I think everybody wants to know more about how things happening on the outside of the body affect the lives of the cells working on the inside of it. And this chapter involves a particularly funny incident related to just such interactions. It's also the only chapter missing from the first 2 volumes that hasn't gotten an episode to itself yet. It'd be kind of a shame to leave it behind. Secondly, I believe they're going to show the common cold. And it's important not just because it's a common malady, but because it also introduces a couple of interesting concepts and a very important character who, if you really want to know, is an integral point to the second cancer arc. Let's give actual normal cells a spotlight, yes? Third, the thymocytes. You've seen platelets. You've seen baby red blood cells and baby white blood cells. Now get ready for T-Cell Boot Camp! A flashback episode devoted to the lymphocytes, specifically the T-cells, killer T, helper T, and regulatory T-cell. Come on, you guys know that now that I've mentioned it, you want to see what small killer T-cell looked like. You just can't pass that up. Fourth, acne. A strange choice? Yes, but I've chosen this one as one to be featured in the second half because it's kind of dark. Yeah, the acne chapter is just a little bit sad and a little bit dark, so if the scrape wound episode made you feel bad about picking your scabs, you'll definitely get some repressed feels about how you treat your breakouts. It's no Cells at Work black, but it can leave a bad taste in your mouth in the same way. A little. Also, who doesn't want to know how acne works? And fifth, it's actually a toss-up, or a crapshoot. Basically everything after acne is just a secondary feature for characters who have already been established, instead of introducing anyone really new and pertinent. If I had to guess as to what this one would be about, I'm betting on acquired immunity. Because I think they might want to show the curious masses what vaccinations look like in this series. That's my guess, but like I said, this one could be that, or it could be the circulatory system, possibly combined with dengue fever, because mosquitoes, I don't know. I mean, we don't know much about monocytes yet either, so maybe a staph infection episode? Forget it. I think it's going to be acquired immunity, but I could very well be wrong about that. Y'all can all guess for yourselves and leave your logic in the comments below. The free space is open. And then, finally, I'm going to say definitively that the finale of the Cells at Work season is going to be, as any of you who are familiar with the manga might have already guessed at this point, hypovolemic shock. Well, if hyper means too much, then hypo means not enough. Volemic is a combination of the roots for volume and anemic, which put together is the amount of blood. I guess I don't need to explain it like that. In layman's terms, you could call it traumatic blood loss. Yep, it's the second 2-chapter arc of the manga, and it is, by all means, the best place to end the series of only 13 episodes. What will happen? If you want to know right now, then you can go read the manga. But I'll go ahead and keep my lips zipped on those particular details. At least in this video. And there you go. Those are the 6 episodes I predict using my own logic and reasoning that will comprise the second half and finale of Cells at Work. Heck, it was almost painful to try and pick 5 incidents, give or take a couple of shorter chapters, before hypovolemic shock. I mean, even as I've laid it out here, there are still quite a few chapters that can't be covered, let alone the saga of Volume 5, and that's really unfortunate. Now I have to hurry up and finish the script before I change my mind on the ones I've chosen. I love them all too much to have them narrow them down like this. We won't get to see so much. Am I done rambling and predicting now? Is it time to be done? Probably. I guess the only thing left to say is for me to overstate again how much I love this manga and how greatly I think David Production is doing with adapting it into the anime. Still bloody, still educational, and still amusing. My only regret is that we couldn't make it last longer. But the JoJo fans have been waiting long enough for their 5th season, so I'll just be grateful for what I've been given. Dream of a second season? Most certainly. But the next volume of the manga is still a ways off, and I can't even guess what future chapters will hold. If you still can't seem to get your fix of biology nerd anime and manga, there are several spin-off manga that exist, albeit two of them, called Bacteria at Work and Cells That Don't Work, which are pretty hard to find. I know they exist in theory, but I have yet to see any scans or illustrations from them anywhere, so if anyone knows anywhere that these can be found or read, I'd like to know where. Hopefully I'll be able to buy them in the store in the future, but who knows. And the last one. I'm sure, because I mentioned it earlier, and you've probably heard most about this one by now, Cells at Work Black. In case you were wondering, it is a seinen spin-off about the unfortunate cells living inside the dystopian-style, less-than-healthy body. I can't recommend this one lightly because it is downright depressing, and quite honestly, if you like the lightheartedness of the original Cells at Work, I don't think you will like this. It talks about and features all things adult, including drugs and smoking, drinking, stress, and, well, let's just say that we know that in this spin-off, it takes place definitively in the body of an adult male. It's up to you guys as to whether or not you want to put yourself through the emotional strain that comes with these biologically accurate depictions of the effects of drugs on your body and the response it gives to counteract these things. Watching them struggle as these poor cells are just trying to do their jobs and can only wonder what they've done to deserve the calamity that befalls them. You've been thoroughly warned at this point. I think I am personally going to stick to the original, not Osmosis Jones series for as long as it continues, for the sake of my own sanity. Are we done now? Never. I can never be done talking about this series and how good it is that the anime community has embraced the madness! But I will try to end the video. I am putting serious consideration towards making a review of the anime when it has finished its run, or at least another very long video talking about the series for an extended period of time just because I can and need to let my feelings out. So I'll address some of the other things I have to leave out of this video to that when it comes around. Deal? No? Well, comment at me. This show is intellectually stimulating. I want to talk with people about this. What do you want to see? Have you read the manga or any of the spin-offs? Do you think David Pro will skip a bunch of stuff in order to get to the second cancer arc? Do you think I'm wrong on my hunch about what will be in the second half? You think you have better guesses? Then tell me. I want to know what you all think. Who is the best cell so far? Can we get a character spotlight for neutrophil number 4989? Does the T in Killer T cell really stand for tsundere? Please let me know. Let's share the love. Or hate if you have the gall to speak up about it in this video. Criticisms are always interesting to read though, so I'll take any problems you have with it as well. Unless it's just not your cup of tea. If that's your problem, then why are you even here? Get out. Okay, third time's the charm. Now I'm done ranting about cells for however long I can keep my mouth shut about them. Thank you to everybody who watched this video all the way through, and as usual, if you liked it, feel free to spread the love. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, check out the description for the links to the art and my Twitter. Twitter is where I put my mundane statements and random updates of Nerdist exploits, so check it out if you have the time. You are much more likely to get my regular updates even on videos there than here on YouTube. And with that, thanks again, people of Earth and elsewhere. This is the channel of Spam with your friendly Crackers PSA, reminding you to take care of yourself for the sake of the little people who are just doing their jobs and trying to keep you alive. And whatever you do going forward, don't feel bad for cancer! Hope to see you next time. Ciao! Man, it really is too bad about Volume 5. That'd be like a continuous arc of 5 straight episodes culminating into a grand anti-cancer revenge finale. Like almost 2 hours of exploring... Wait, 2 hours. Not even that. Oh my gosh! Cells at Work the movie! Cancer 2! That's what needs to happen when the anime is done!